So this is another application of DFT, that is frequency analysis of signals using DFT. So to compute the spectrum of either a continuous or discrete time signal, the value of signals for all time is required. Okay, but in practice signals can be observed only for a finite duration. This is the major drawback that we come across in analyzation of spectrums. Consequently, spectrum of a signal can be a finite data record too. Limit the duration. For this one, what we have to do is limit the duration of the signal to time interval T0 is equal to LT, where L is number of samples and T is sampling interval. Okay, so let x of n is sequence to be analyzed, limiting the duration of the sequence to L samples, multiplying it with rectangular window of length L. That means we are having x of n sequence which is to be analyzed, and we have to take a rectangular window signal of length which is having length L. That is W of n is equal to 1 for 0 less than or equal to n less than or equal to L minus 1. All these windows that we can come across in our unit 4. Okay, x cap of n is equal to x of n into W of n. So that means we will get a finite duration signal. This is an infinite duration signal or else a long signal. Whenever if you restrict it to 0 to L minus 1 length, we will get only the signal from 0 to L minus 1. Suppose x of n consisting of a single sinusoid, that is x of n is equal to cos omega naught n, then the Fourier transform of the finite duration sequence will be like this. Okay, we know that Fourier transform of cos omega naught is this one, x cap of omega is equal to 1 by 2 into W of omega minus omega naught plus W of omega plus omega naught, where W of omega is the Fourier transform of the window sequence, which is for the rectangular window, which is omega of omega is equal to sine of omega L by 2 by sine of omega by 2 into e power minus j omega into L minus 1 by 2. This is the Fourier transform of our sequence, windowing sequence. Okay, so for that Fourier transform, this is the spectrum of x of omega. So whenever this is like this, we will get this for L length 25, this we can call in this spectrum, this we can call this as main lobe, and these all are side lobes. Okay, at pi by 2, generally around pi by 2 we can observe the main lobe here. This is the magnitude spectrum for our windowing sequence. Okay, so windowed spectrum are not localized to single frequency. Instead, it is spread out over whole frequency range. See, if you observe here from minus pi to pi, it is not restricted to single frequency or not restricted to single points. Okay, set of points. Okay, so but it spreads from the over entire range minus pi to pi. We took only from minus pi to pi. If the range has been extended, means this spectrum has also extended. Okay, thus the power of original signal that was concentrated at a single frequency has been spread by window into entire frequency range. So the power of original signal, which in time domain or else which in frequency domain is concentrated at single frequency, has been spread all over the frequency range because of this non-localization of windowed spectrum. Thus the power has leaked out into entire frequency range. Means the power has to be there in the main lobe. The majority of power, 80%, around 75 to 80% of the power has to be in main lobe, but the power has been leaked out into the entire frequency range. This phenomena, which is a characteristic of windowing the signal, is called as leakage. Windowing not only distorts the spectral estimate due to leakage, also reduces the spectral resolution. So this leakage, it distorts the spectral estimation and also it reduces the spectral resolution too. Okay, so what we have to do to reduce this leakage, that we are going to concentrate. With the help of DFT, we are going to reduce this leakage. Let us consider a sequence consisting of two frequency components, that is cos omega 1n plus cos omega n2. The Fourier transform, the DFT or the frequency transform for this one will be 1 by 2 into W of omega minus omega 1 plus omega minus omega 2 plus W of omega plus omega 1 omega plus omega 2. Okay. The spectrum of W of omega of the rectangular window sequence has its zero crossing at omega is equal to 2 pi by L. So, if omega 1 minus omega 2 is less than this point, two windowing functions will overlap. As a consequence, two spectral lines are not distinguishable. So, only if you want to see those two separate lobes in the spectrum, it has to be greater than 2 pi by L, or else it has to be equal to 2 pi by L. Okay, the difference between omega 1 and omega 2. So, if you see, observe here, this is the length L is equal to for 25, this is L is equal to 50, L is equal to 100. Whenever the length keep on increasing, you can see overlap, you can observe the overlapping of lobes here. Okay. To reduce the leakage, we can select a data window that has lower side lobes in frequency domain compared with rectangular window. So, whenever you take rectangular window, this is what happening. Whenever the length is increasing, the overlapping of lobes are occurring. At the same time, the power leakage also increasing. That's why we have to avoid that window, rather than we have to select another window which is having the width of main lobe and which is having the reduction in side lobes. That is only possible in one single window called as Hanning window. Okay, these windows, those and all, you will come across in your unit number 4. For now, you have to learn the formulas. Okay, which is specified as W of n is equal to 1 by 2 into 1 minus cos 2 pi n by L minus 1 0. Okay, this is the Hanning window formula. It will be having main major lobe and very less number of smaller lobes or else side lobes. Okay, and the main lobe is also approximately twice as the rectangular window. This is the figure, shows the spectrum of x cap of n using Hanning window. When you multiply x of n with this Hanning window, this will be the result, because if you see these lobes, these side lobes are approximately 0, only 1 or 2 side lobes are there, approximately 0. So, whenever there are no side lobes, means the energy or the power has to be there in the main lobe itself. That means we can avoid the leakage by using DFT. Okay, you can also observe for long length sequences. See here, for L is equal to 50, for L equal to 75, for any value of L, there is no power leakage. Okay, this analyzation, for this analyzation, DFT is very useful. If DFT is there, then only we are able to analyze whether by doing it with rectangular window or by doing with Hanning window, we can analyze this frequency analysis. Okay, in this way, DFT is very helpful to select which window to be analyzed for, to stop the power leakage. Okay. So, now we are going to see linear filtering methods based on DFT. See what is linear filtering, that everything we are going to see now. DFT provides discrete frequency representation of a finite duration sequence in frequency domain. This we have seen in frequency analysis of DFT. DFT uses as a tool for linear systems analysis, especially for linear filtering. Okay, the problem with the frequency domain approach is that x of omega, h of omega and y of omega are the functions of continuous variable omega. So, here if you see omega is a continuous variable. So, whenever we apply discrete Fourier transform, then this omega is continuous variable, that is bothering us to do this. So that's why we are approaching DFT method to reduce this continuous variable of discrete Fourier transform. Okay. So as a consequence, because of that omega is continuous, the computations cannot be done on a digital computer. So DFT can be used to perform linear filtering in frequency domain. DFT is computationally more efficient than time domain convolution due to existence of efficient algorithms for computing the DFT. So DFT is more efficient to find out the convolution of two time domain signals rather than the algorithms of our DFT. That algorithms and the processes, direct computation and methods of computation, everything we are gonna see in unit 2. Okay. So here use of DFT in linear filtering. So first of all, what is linear filtering means? So firstly, what is linear filtering means? It is a process of time varying input signals to produce output signals. Okay. So the subjective constraint of linearity, depending upon the linearity, the process of time varying input signals to produce output signals. This is called linear filtering. So this DFT is very good approach for linear filtering. So use of DFT in linear filtering, this is the continuation topic for the previous one. We know that the product of two DFTs is equivalent to circular convolution of corresponding time domain sequences. As we have seen this in circular convolution concept, this statement is very true. Circular convolution is of no use to determine output of linear filter to a given input sequence. So in this case, a frequency domain methodology equivalent to linear convolution is required. Okay. So for this frequency domain methodology, we are using this DFT. Suppose if a finite duration sequence x of n of length L, which excites an FIR filter of length m, that means x of n is equal to 0 for n less than 0 and n greater than L. X of n is defined in between 0 to L, and h of n is defined in between 0 to m. H of n, we know this is called as impulse response of the FIR filter. The output sequence y of n of the filter can be expressed in time domain as convolution of x of n and h of n. We know this one, right? Y of n is equal to x of n convolved with h of n. Since h of n and x of n are finite duration sequences, since these are finite, the output y of n is also a finite duration sequence. That means the length of y of n will be length of these two minus 1. That means L plus m minus 1. This is the length of y of n. So the frequency domain equivalent as per the convolution theorem in frequency, time domain convolution in time domain is equal to multiplication in frequency domain. So y of omega is equal to x of omega into h of omega. So we know that y of k is equal to y of omega at omega is equal to 2 pi k by n. Okay, where k belongs to an integer from 0 to n minus 1. So transforming this omega into k by substituting this equivalent, then y of k is equal to x of k into h of k, where x of k and h of k are the n-point DFTs of corresponding sequences x of n and h of n. So by doing DFTs for x of n and h of n, we can get x of k and h of k. Since the sequences x of n and y of n have duration less than n, pad these sequences with zeros to increase their length to n. Okay. So the L and m are less than n, that's why we have to add zeros to x of n and y of n to make the length equal to convolved signal y of n or y of k to capital N. This increase in the size of sequency does not alter their spectra of x of omega and h of omega. Even though we add zeros, this is not going to affect our spectrums x of omega and h of omega. So multiplication of n-point DFTs x of k and h of k according to above equation followed by computation of n point IDFT yields the sequence of y of n. So, if you want to find out this y of n, so we have to do IDFT, n point IDFT for the same signal. And next, the n point circular convolution of x of n and h of n must be equal to their linear convolution of x of n and h of n. So, circular convolution, n point circular convolution of these two signals has to be equal to their x of n and h of n. So, increasing the length of sequences to n points by appending some zeros and then circularly convolving them, the resulting sequences will give the same result as linear convolution. This is the final key point in this one. That means, if even though there are initially we are having two signals x of n and h of n, the linear convolution of those signals will be x of n, y of n is equal to x of n convolved with h of n. It yields some result. We have to keep it aside. And next, we have increased the size by substituting omega is equal to 2 pi k by n. We have increased the size of those depending upon the length of DFT n, and then now we have got some new x of n and new h of n which are having appended zeros. Okay, so if you convolve those two new x of n and h of n sequences circularly, the linear convolution result which we have done initially and the circular convolution result after appending zeros must be same. Okay, then only the spectrum won't get altered. Okay, this is the use of DFT in linear filtering. Okay, by this way, by appending zeros, we can just directly increase the spectrum capability and the range of spectra without affecting any of its characteristics. So, next one is filtering of long sequences. This is the very important concept that we are seeing. See, in practical applications involving linear filtering of signals, the input sequence x of n is often a very long sequence. Now in problems, or else now at our graduation level, if you see, we deal with problems with 8 point or 16 point, but in practically 8 point, 16 point are not enough. We have to do at least with 128 points or 256 points or 200 points, like this many sequences and more number of information will be there. So, if in the process of filtering of long sequences, how we are going to use our DFT method effectively, that is gonna describe here. So, linear filtering performed via DFT must be limited in size due to limited memory of a digital computer. Because of that limited memory, linear filtering performed via DFT must be limited. Okay, a long input sequence must be segmented to fixed size blocks prior to processing. Because of the limitation of memory, that long input sequence has to be segmented into blocks. Since filtering is linear, successive blocks can be processed one at a time via DFT, and the output blocks are fitted together to form overall output sequence. So, after division of successive blocks, each block can be processed one at a time using this DFT technique, and at output, depending upon the input blocks division, we have to arrange our output sequence. Okay, we describe two methods for linear FIR filtering a long sequence on a block by block basis using DFT. So, this input sequence is segmented into blocks and each block is processed via the DFT and IDFT to produce a block of output data. Okay. So, the output blocks are fitted together to form overall output sequence, which is identical to the sequence obtained if the long block and had processed via time domain convolution. The two methods are called as overlap save method and overlap add method. Okay, see here, the output blocks are fitted together to form overall output sequence, which is identical to the sequence obtained if the long block had been processed via time domain convolution. So that long blocks has to be processed via time domain convolution. After processing that, they will be for fitting of output we will be having two methods. They are overlap save method and overlap add method. Okay, for both methods, see, the approach for the both methods are same, but the division of both input blocks and the arrangement of output blocks are different from each other. We will see one method by another method. For both methods, we assume that FIR filter has a duration of M, capital M. The input sequence is segmented into blocks of L points where L greater than M. So this is overlap save method. So we are having M length, that x of n is divided into 3 signals or 3 blocks, x1 of n, x2 of n, x3 of n. It is having m minus 1 zeros before of this one, and from here to here the total length of the block will be L. So for this one we have to append zeros before starting of the first sequence. Okay, so in x2 of n, another after the last 3 sequences xl minus m plus 1 to xl minus x of l minus 1, last 3 will come forward as first 3 for x2 of n, and so on up to x of 2l minus 1. Whatever is the thing here, all lengths should be equal. This is of length L, this is of length L, and this is of length L. Like that we have to divide into 3 blocks. Okay, here we are taking 3 blocks, and depending upon the length we have to divide it. Okay, in this method the size of input data block is n, which is L plus m minus 1, and DFTs and IDFTs of length n. Each block consists of last m minus 1 data points of the previous data block followed by L new data points to form a data sequence called as L plus m minus 1. So the whole data length will be L plus m minus 1. These are m minus 1 zeros appended here, and this is length L here, and the last 3 points has to be kept forward down here. Okay, last points. So n point DFT computed on each block. For each and every block the n point DFT has to be computed. The impulse response is appended with L minus 1 zeros, and n point DFT is calculated once and stored. So for each x1 of n, x2 of n, x3 of n, we have to find out n point DFTs. Okay, so we will get x1 of k, x2 of k, and x3 of k. These have to be stored in a digital computer individually. The multiplication of two endpoint DFTs for mth block of data yields ym of k is equal to h of k into xm of k. So after getting this one, okay, y of k, if we get, after when we apply IDFT to this one, we will get ym of n. So since the data record of length n, the first m minus 1 point of ym of n are corrupted by aliasing and must be discarded. So if you have found out here x1 of k, x2 of k, and x3 of k. So whenever you are processing them, the processor or else the filter will be having some function h of k. So if you multiply ym of k with individual xm of k with that h of k, you will get y1 of k, y2 of k, y3 of k, like that, and so on. Okay, so then if you do the IDFT to this ym of k, you will get ym of n for each individual block separately. Okay, y1 of n, y2 of n, y3 of n, like that we will get separate IDFTs. Since the data record is of length n, the first m minus 1 points of ym of n are corrupted by aliasing. Because of that appending of zeros, the first m minus 1 points are corrupted, okay, and they have to be discarded in the result. The last L points of ym of n are exactly same as result of linear convolution. To begin this processing, first m minus 1 data points of the first record are set to 0. This and all we have seen. So this is overlap save method. This is x1 of n, x2 of n, x3 of n. In this x1 of n, these are m minus 1 zeros, and last m minus 1 points are carry forwarded to next x2 of n, and in this also last m minus 1 points are forwarded to next x3 of n. Like this the blocks have to be divided. Okay, you have to find out y1 of n, y2 of n, y3 of n here. So in the result y1 of n, because of this m minus 1 zeros appended, you have to discard this point, discarding m minus 1 points, okay, like this. And here also you have to discard m minus 1 points for each and every block, y1 of n, y2 of n and y3 of n. M minus 1 points have to be discarded. This is called as overlap save method, okay. So the main drawback in this method is we won't be able to find out last m minus 1 points. Okay, this in practically by doing problems you will come to know what is the main drawback of this overlap save method. And to find out the last m minus 1 points also we will approach for overlap add method, okay. So in this overlap add method, the input data block size is L points, and that size of DFT and IDFT is n is equal to L plus m minus 1. Okay, to each block we append m minus 1 zeros and compute the n point DFT. See here x1 of n is equal to, in overlap save method you have seen the signals are starting from zeros, okay, but here the signal starting from initial signal x of 0, x of 0, x of 1, x of 2 and so on L points, and then m minus 1 zeros. After this x of L minus 1, next signal is x of L, and next up to 2L minus 1, that means L points m minus 1 zeros. Same x3 of n, the next point here x of 2L and then m minus 1 zeros. Like this the input block division has to happen, okay. So the two n point DFTs are multiplied, ym of k is equal to h of k into xm of k. See here x1 of n, x2 of n, x3 of n, we have to apply individual DFTs to get x of x1 of k, x2 of k and x3 of k separately. So the two n point DFTs are multiplied here, ym of k is equal to h of k into xm of k. So the IDFT yields data blocks of length n that are free of aliasing, since sequences are increased to size n by appending m minus 1 zeros. That is very much clear from the previous one, okay. Since each data block is terminated with m minus 1 zeros, the last m minus 1 points from each output block must be overlapped and added to the first m minus 1 points of the succeeding block. Hence this is called as overlap add method, okay. So because of these zeros, this you will come to know at the end of the method, the diagram will be there. Because of this appending of these zeros here, whenever if you have to find, if you are arranging the sequence y of n from y1 of n, y2 of n, y3 of n, you have to add these last samples DFT plus m minus 1 first samples DFT, okay, of corresponding output blocks. That's why this is called as overlapping and then adding. That's why overlap add method. See here it is very clear. x1 of n, we are taking L points, m minus 1 zeros, L points, m minus 1 zeros, L points and m minus 1 zeros. So this is the output data here, y1 of n. So in y1 of n last m minus 1 points, and in y2 of n first m minus 1 points have to be get added, okay. and here also in y2 of n last m minus 1 points and in y3 of n first m minus 1 points have to be get added. That's why this is called as overlap add method. These overlap add method and overlap save method are very important in DSP, and these are this is the major application of DFT for filtering of long sequences. In this way we can filter more length sequences also. Okay.